Emerging from the cabin, Priya threw herself into her work. At lunchtime, she hurried to the canteen but not before placing an order for Rohan's meal. Meanwhile, the canteen buzzed with chatter as employees enjoyed their food. Among them, some were whispering about Priya. She wasn't strikingly beautiful, but her personality and manner of speaking set her apart. When Priya arrived, she joined a few colleagues and began eating her lunch. Days passed in this fashion, and slowly, Priya started making friends. One afternoon, while she was having her lunch, a colleague named Rishi started helping himself to her tiffin. Priya noticed and was slightly annoyed. "Rishi, why are you eating from my tiffin?" "Eat your own," she exclaimed. "Come on, Priya, I've just taken a little." "Why are you overreacting?" "Here, have some from mine," he retorted. They bantered like this while eating their respective meals, drawing amused glances from others in the canteen. In these few days, Priya and Rishi had developed a friendship. However, others had warned Priya about Rishi, describing him as someone who often flirted with people. They advised her to be cautious around him. As time went on, Rohan began to notice the growing camaraderie between Priya and Rishi. Rohan had started enjoying Priya's company, often summoning her to his cabin under the guise of work. Though Priya found this behavior mildly irritating at times, she couldn't say much. After all, he was her boss. More days went by, and Rishi began spending significant time with Priya, a development Priya seemed to enjoy. But Rohan found their closeness increasingly unsettling. Somewhere deep down, he knew he was beginning to like Priya but struggled to admit it to himself. One day, Rohan assigned a project that required Priya and Rishi to work together. On a Sunday, Priya visited a temple with her parents to celebrate her father's birthday. Coincidentally, Rohan was also there with his mother. Rohan stood on the temple steps, talking on the phone, and told his mother, "You go ahead, Mum. I'll join you in a moment." He resumed his call as his mother made her way inside. Inside the temple, Rohan's mother noticed Priya offering prayers with her parents. Overjoyed, she approached her and said, "Priya, dear, it's been ages since I saw you." Startled yet happy, Priya touched her feet and greeted her, "Auntie, you're here?" "Yes, child, I've come with Rohan. He's outside, on a call." Priya introduced her parents to Rohan's mother. In the middle of their conversation, Priya's mother remembered she had left the sweets for the offering in their car and asked Priya to fetch them. Without a second thought, Priya hurried towards the temple steps. Despite people cautioning her to walk carefully, she descended hastily. Meanwhile, Rohan had just ended his call and was making his way back to the temple, engrossed in his phone. Neither noticed the other until they collided. Priya stumbled, but Rohan caught her just in time. Though the sudden encounter initially annoyed Rohan, his irritation vanished as soon as he saw Priya. She was dressed in a black and golden long suit, with small earrings, kohl-lined eyes, and a delicate bindi on her forehead. For a moment, he couldn't look away. Priya opened her eyes, momentarily locking gazes with Rohan. She, too, felt a fleeting sense of being lost in his eyes. Then, remembering they were on the temple steps and people were watching, she quickly composed herself and called his name. Rohan snapped out of his reverie, helped her to her feet, and stepped aside. Priya hurried away, leaving Rohan behind, smiling faintly. Inside the temple, Priya's father and Rohan's mother had witnessed the entire scene from afar. Priya's father glanced at Rohan and thought, "What a fine young man. If only he could be my son-in-law." The thought amused him, and he chuckled to himself. Meanwhile, Rohan's mother discreetly clicked a picture of them together. Priya's father noticed and asked, "Do you know that boy?" "Yes," she replied, beaming with pride. "He's my son, Rohan." Priya's father smiled. "I hope you don't mind, but would you consider my daughter as your daughter-in-law?" Overjoyed, Rohan's mother said, "You've spoken my heart. But let's give our children some time to understand each other." Meanwhile, Priya and Rishi's friendship deepened over the next 3 months. However, Rohan took every opportunity to bother Priya subtly, often under the guise of work. One day, Priya's friend confided in her, "Rishi isn't a good guy. He flirts with everyone." Priya, calm and resolute, replied, "Say what you will, but I've already made up my mind." 10 days before Rishi's birthday, Priya had meticulously planned a surprise for him. That day, she had also decided to confess her feelings for him. Sharing this plan with her close friend, she walked away confidently, unaware that someone had overheard their conversation. That someone was none other than Rohan. Hearing Priya's intentions stirred a storm of emotions within Rohan. As he returned to his cabin, his fists clenched in frustration. How could Rishi, of all people, deserve Priya's affection? Over the past weeks, Rohan had quietly investigated Rishi's character, uncovering his manipulative ways. He knew Rishi didn't love Priya but was merely exploiting her trust. However, without concrete evidence, Rohan hesitated to warn Priya. He knew she wouldn't believe him otherwise. Days slipped by quickly, and one evening, Rohan found himself at a friend's celebration at an upscale club. Amidst the laughter and music, his eyes caught a familiar figure. Rishi was sitting in a corner with another woman, their closeness leaving no room for ambiguity. Rage bubbled within Rohan as he considered confronting him then and there. Yet, he restrained himself and, instead, dialed Priya's number. When she answered, he said curtly, "I'm sending you an address. Come there immediately." Before Priya could question him, he hung up. Confused and slightly annoyed at his abruptness, Priya debated whether to go. Yet curiosity got the better of her, and she prepared to leave, informing her father, "I'll be back soon, Papa. Don't worry." Arriving at the club, she scanned the crowd but found no sign of Rohan. Frustrated, she called him, and within moments, he appeared. "Why have you dragged me here?" she demanded, visibly irritated. Instead of responding, Rohan calmly said, "I've told you before, Priya, and so have others, but you didn't listen. Tonight, I want to show you the truth." "What truth?" Priya asked, bewildered. Rohan didn't answer. Taking her hand firmly, he led her to where Rishi sat, engrossed in conversation with the woman. "Look closely," Rohan said softly. As Priya's eyes fell on Rishi, her world began to crumble. The man she had cared for so deeply was laughing and leaning in towards another woman. Tears welled up in her eyes. At that moment, the woman stood up to leave. Rohan seized the opportunity and approached her. "Excuse me," he said, his tone sharp but composed. "Do you know Rishi well? I work with him, and I thought you should know he claims to love someone else." The woman chuckled, her face devoid of surprise. "You mean Priya?" "Oh, let me be clear, he's only playing around with her. Our marriage is already fixed, and it's happening in a month." Hearing this, Priya's knees felt weak. Her grip on Rohan's arm tightened as if seeking support to keep herself upright. Sensing her despair, Rohan tried to comfort her, but Priya, gathering her remaining strength, said to the woman, "Can you make Rishi confirm this himself?" The woman smirked and replied, "If you don't believe me, follow me. I'll make him admit it." They returned to the table, where the woman casually asked, "Tell me, Rishi, who do you like more, me or Priya?" Rishi burst into laughter. "Oh, come on. There's no comparison. Where's Priya, and where are you? She's just so boring. Sure, she's good at her job, but she never stops talking. And guess what? She's planning to propose to me soon." He winked and added, "Don't worry, though. I'm all yours." Priya's tears broke free, her heart shattering into pieces. Unable to bear it any longer, she ran out of the club. Rohan followed her, worried she might collapse under the weight of her emotions. But to his surprise, Priya suddenly turned back, stormed into the club, and approached Rishi. Without hesitation, she slapped him hard across the face, leaving the entire room in stunned silence. Rishi stared at her in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" he stammered. "I wish I had done this sooner," Priya retorted, her voice trembling with anger and sorrow. "Everyone warned me about you, but I refused to listen. Now, I only blame myself for loving someone as despicable as you." With those words, she walked out, tears streaming down her face. Outside, she broke down completely, burying her face in Rohan's chest. "Why does this always happen to me?" she sobbed. Rohan wrapped his arms around her protectively, his voice steady yet gentle. "Because you deserve better, Priya. Someone who truly values you, not someone who takes you for granted." In that moment, Priya felt the faintest glimmer of solace amidst her heartbreak. Though the wound was fresh, she knew Rohan's words carried a truth she needed to embrace.